Trauma matters, Omaha.
Trauma matters, Omaha.
Trauma matters, Omaha.
A trauma-informed community is healthier, it's vibrant, it's a strong community where people interact and communicate and collaborate and function together in a safe and healthy environment. The first step to providing trauma-informed care is really recognizing what trauma is and the impact that it has on individuals.
It's very important that everybody recognizes that trauma exists, and that by not recognizing it, you're actually making it worse. Just by looking at someone, you can't tell.
Trauma looks different for every person, but oftentimes we see that trauma manifesting a kind of walls being put up, not being willing to ask for help or admit that something is not feeling right.
We've all been traumatized. I don't believe that there's one person in this world who doesn't have some level of trauma. Some have dealt with it, some have pushed it aside, some don't even realize that they've been traumatized. And so when you start to be understanding and you have an open mind, that's where the learning and the real change begins.
Police officers see a tremendous amount of trauma, and it translates through into how we're feeling. Some of the worst things that you can see is the abuse that happens to children and babies. Having trauma-informed care will help that officer on every call that they make to look for signs of trauma, to look for signs of trauma in a person's history.
I think as a judge, instead of being the hard, cold voice of authority, you have to have kind of an understanding tone and maybe an inviting tone that, hey, here's what we want for you. We want you to be successful, but we got work to do, and we need you to help with that. The ultimate goal is to make sure that we have a healthy individual leaving the courtroom on a path to be successful going forward.
Our goal should be to eradicate trauma from the face of the earth, but it's not possible. Some trauma is part of the human condition, but we can really make huge progress in how we treat each other, how we understand why that matters so much. We should set as a goal that any opportunity to intercede, to avoid traumatic experiences, reduce traumatic experiences, or reduce the traumatic effect of those experiences, we have an obligation to do that.
For me and for Rue, that would be providing care for students in their classrooms, in their school buildings, understanding the importance of predictability, consistency, relationships, and providing students with skills for coping and distress tolerance. It absolutely works, but it's a process, and it's intentional, and it takes a team.
If we're able to create relationships and environments that help heal from and build resilience for that trauma, then we can start to reduce some of those long-term negative consequences, which is a community that everybody wants to live in, a community that doesn't have high rates of all of these negative behavioral and mental health and long-term health difficulties.
The more people are trauma-informed, trained, the better our community becomes, because we have challenges in this community, and I think to be trauma-informed is one of the best ways to address these challenges and become a healthier community.
Just the fact that Omaha, Nebraska has embraced that concept says that we are on the verge of making huge changes in our children's lives. But it can't just be a conversation among a few organizations. We have the challenge of getting every family, every household, every church to understand what trauma is and then begin to educate.
My hope for Trauma Matters Omaha is, as we build awareness of trauma, that we would, as a community, find ways that we could build our resilience, that we would become a more supportive and engaging community that helps heal from the wounds that we have in our past. Trauma matters to our community.
Trauma matters, Omaha.
Trauma matters, Omaha.
Trauma matters, Omaha.